Good evening, gamers, and welcome to another episode of the What I'm Playing Now podcast. We are up to episode 39 already. We're recording this on September 2nd, 2014. Recording this a day late. This is Tuesday. I normally record on Monday, but yesterday was a holiday, and over the weekend, a lot of stuff was going on, so I figured, what the hell, I'll take a break for one day and record it on Tuesday. Hopefully, no harm, no foul, but we are here for another week of what I've played for the week. Um, Still working on the website and working on a couple of things in that aspect, possibly looking into getting the podcast onto maybe a site that will help get a few more listeners to the podcast. So we will have more news on that possibly in the future. But send us some emails. whatimplay.now@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at whatimplay.now. Don't forget to drop the G, like I always say. Our Google Plus page is plus.google.com/the +sign whatimplay.now podcast. And of course, we have our Twitch page, twitch.tv/whatimplayingnow. Have a new segment for the first part of the show this week. I normally talk about what I'm playing, what I want to play, but let's talk about what I'm leeching now for all you old school downloaders out there. In this part of the show, I'm kind of going to try to discuss some of the free games or sales that are kind of going around, either for video or board games. Try to find some good deals for everybody. Pretty much this first week, I'm going to discuss, since it's the beginning of the month, we're going to talk about all of the free stuff that Sony, Microsoft, EA is giving us for belonging to some of their subscription programs. So let's jump into what Sony is offering for their PlayStation Plus. PlayStation 4 owners will get Velocity 2X, as well as, I know there's one more. The two free titles for PlayStation 3 are PlayStation All-Star Battles. Say that 10 times fast. And I believe Joe Danger is coming out for the Vita. So it sounds like we have a pretty good lineup of games that are coming out. So like I said, Velocity 2X on PS4, Joe Danger on PS Vita, Sports Friends on PS4, which I already have, PS All-Star Battles and Horde on PS3, and TXK on Vita. So those are going to be free games. I've really enjoyed Sports Friends, so that's going to be one thing that hopefully a lot of other people will be able to play. One of the games I was kind of looking forward to getting off of this list is Horde. I had looked at that game previously, but I actually never bought it. But that is what the free games, what Sony is giving us for the month. One other thing that Sony had just announced, which I believe this was basically during its pre-TGS press conference that was on Monday, they are basically giving away 250 free PlayStation Plus game or PSP games to PlayStation Plus subscribers in Japan. They haven't said if this is going to be coming over to the US or to Europe or anything, but 250 out of the, I think there's 320, 370. Yeah, there's 370 games, I think, for the PSP catalog over in Japan. I think that would be outstanding if they actually gave this to us over here in the US and in Europe also. Don't want to leave those guys out. But I think that's a pretty damn good deal. Hopefully they will spread the love a little bit, and TGS will get some more information on that shortly. Microsoft is giving out some free things too for Xbox Live games with Gold members. For the Xbox One, you have Super Time Force and Crimson Dragon. For the Xbox 360, you have Monaco and Halo Reach. Monaco is a crazy little game. I was playing it on Steam a couple of weeks ago. If you do get a chance and have a 360 and you have gold, I would definitely check that one out. And EA, with their EA Access, they are adding in Need for Speed Rivals in a couple of weeks. But they also have a couple of games coming out that if you actually have your EA Access membership, you'll be able to download early. Those being NHL 15 and FIFA 15. So if you would like to maybe get those in an early access period, you will have to spend the $5 a month or the $30 a year subscription fee for EA Access, and you will be able to grab those. Next week I'm going to see, since there probably won't be free games announced by these companies again, they just usually do that at the beginning of the month. Next week I'll see if I can maybe come up with one or two decent sale items for the week, and we'll try to have links to those, and we'll see if we can maybe save people some money. that way. I was just sitting around looking today. I was going to put that as a news article and as a news story, but then I was like, you know what? What the hell? Let's kind of just throw that in as a whole new segment. But let's jump into some news. One of the first news stories I kind of wanted to discuss was Dragon Age Inquisitions, their 4-player co-op. I'm going to have a link to the FAQ that is out there, and I had not realized that Dragon Age. I had heard that Dragon Age Inquisition was going to have a multiplayer, but after reading the FAQ, it sounds like it's going to be pretty cool. It sounds like it's going to be completely separate from the single player game. It also sounds like items that you get in the multiplayer game will not carry over to single player and vice versa. So that could be kind of a good thing. I think you're going to not see kind of what happened at the beginning of Diablo 3, especially with their auction house, the way everybody was just kind of trading items, getting things off the auction house, and things were just crazy and overpowered. And the first couple of weeks of Diablo 3 were just rather insane, from what I remember. Not only just trying to get into the game to play it, but also loot-wise. Um, but there's no trading of items basically in the multiplayer either. So what you're going to have to do is just disassemble the items and use them as craft materials that you can use for other items in the game. Like I said, I'm going to put a link to the FAQ out there. They go into quite a bit about the whole multiplayer piece of this, and I think this could be really cool as far as Dragon Age goes. I played the first Dragon Age game. I didn't play the second one. I have a feeling Dragon Age Inquisition is probably going to be one of the games I pick up here around the holidays and going to try to sit down and knock out. And if it's actually pretty good and we can get some good multiplayer going, I may be picking this up for my wife as well to see if she's interested in playing this one as well. So let's jump on to our next news story. Talk a little bit about Paizo, the people who make Pathfinder. They had a pretty damn good year at Gen Con this year. They got 10 awards, ENnie awards, including Best Publisher, Best Art Interior, Best Art Cover, Best Cartography, Best Free Product, Miniature Product, Monster Adversary, RPG-related product, and Best Supplement. Not only that, but they actually released 4 new products from the Pathfinder universe at Gen Con. And those 4 things were, this first one I'm really stoked about, is the Pathfinder role-playing game Advanced Class Guide. The Advanced Class Guide introduces 10 new classes to Pathfinder, and I have a feeling I'm going to definitely need to pick up this book, because after playing Pathfinder this past weekend, which I will get into later on in the show, there's a new class that's being introduced called the Hunter, and I have a feeling this is going to be the class that I'm probably going to be rolling up a character for. I was looking at maybe doing a druid, but after hearing a little bit and talking to a couple of the other guys about the hunter class, I have a feeling this is going to be the way I go. The other thing that I was really stoked about seeing come out was the Pathfinder adventure card game Skull and Shackles. So this is basically a follow-up to their Rise of the Runelords RPG, well, not RPG, but they're basically their card game, their adventure card game, and it's based around pirates, which you can't go wrong with pirates. I'll definitely be picking this one up. This is going to be on my Christmas list, so hopefully the wife will listen to the podcast and actually grab that for me for Christmas. They also released a new 6-month campaign for the Pathfinder Adventure Path, called the Iron Gods, where they're going to explore one of the most mysterious and unique realms in the Inner Sea region, which sounds pretty cool. And they also have the Pathfinder Society. And they basically just had a lot of events that were Pathfinder Society related at Gen Con. So our next story is going to be the Xbox One. So we're jumping all over between board and video games. Our next story is going to be the Xbox One Kinect available. Is going to be available by itself this October for $149. It's actually going to ship with Dance Central Spotlight, which actually launches on September 2nd for $10. But you're going to get it free when you buy your Xbox One for Kinect for $150. Which, when I heard this last week, I kind of just cringed and was wondering if Microsoft will ever get anything right this generation. $150 for the Xbox or for the Kinect by itself is quite a bit steep. Considering they just knocked $100 off the console, and you have to pay 150 for a separate Kinect, that just seems a little crazy. I know that they were selling the Kinect for PC for $199, which is more of a developer type unit. Um, I can possibly see that, but I just don't see where they're justifying this 150 cost for a Kinect that's completely unbundled from the Xbox One. Um, I know that in one of the presentations that Microsoft had given, they were basically stating that they actually expected to sell more Kinects by removing the Kinect from the console. How somebody came to that idea, or whoever put that idea in somebody's head, I just don't understand it. I wish they could explain that a little bit better, because I don't see how they actually plan on selling more Kinects once they unbundled it from the console. So I'm just not too sure what Microsoft's doing. I don't know if they know what they're doing this generation. So next story we're going to jump into Gauntlet for the PC, the reboot, which I am extremely excited for. Extremely bummed that it's not coming to consoles. It's only coming out for the PC. Has been delayed. I believe it was supposed to come out tomorrow, actually, on September 3rd. It's actually been pushed back a couple weeks to September 23rd. And I did watch some playthrough of this. I watched some of the Gauntlet that was actually done at PAX Prime over this past weekend, where they actually had some game writer veterans from around the business come in and play Gauntlet, and they were basically going for a Gauntlet belt. It was pretty cool. The game looks, from the gameplay that I saw, it does look pretty sweet. The graphics have been updated extensively. There's several different game modes within the game, it looked like. So I cannot wait to get my hands on this. Extremely bummed that it's coming out on PC only. So if the wife and I want to play, I have a feeling we're going to have to buy 2 copies of this, which I guess we're just going to have to suck it up and do it. But it's going to be available on Steam September 23rd. So if you're looking for that, keep an eye out for it. It's coming soon. Also, Microsoft not only is giving away free stuff, but they had their September Xbox One update, and it included a lot of new stuff. They have a new media player app in there. They have an improved party app. They have some new features for Smart Glass. They have a new function which will basically boot you right to the TV, which is pretty cool. They actually have bandwidth usage display. They have game DVR deletes, and you can also save your avatar gamer pics. I will have links to a GameSpot article that basically talks about all that stuff. I have yet to pick up an Xbox One, so I have not been able to enjoy any of those things that Microsoft has put out yet. But for those of you that do have an Xbox One out there, make sure you download the update, and I'm sure some of you were looking forward to a lot of those features. I'm going to jump back over to some board game news. New game coming out. I believe it's currently on Kickstarter, and it is called, or it's coming to Kickstarter, I believe, and it is called Duel of the Magi. I will have a link to this from Dice Tower News. This sounds like a pretty sweet game. It's a board game, and it almost sounds like they're basically trying to get together the dueling nature of Magic the Gathering, along with the deck building of maybe something like a Dominion type of game. So a deck builder, as well as a just a all-out Mage War type game, sounds like a pretty interesting concept. The trailer that was on the one page really doesn't go into too much stuff. They do have a picture of what's in the box. The board and the art on the board does look cool, as well as some of the cards that they were showing. The art looks really sweet. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on this one when this actually does go onto Kickstarter, and I may be backing this one once I find a little bit more about it. So over the weekend, we also had some more news. I believe this might have been last week. Nintendo revealed a new 3DS. It's got a built-in NFC, better 3D, upgraded CPU, but right now it's only coming out in Japan. There has been no word as to whether this will be released in Europe or America, and they're basically just going to say wait and kind of see what happens. They have There's also a new kind of little, what they're calling it, like a little nub button, which is going to be over the existing, the A, B, X, Y buttons that are on the right. Um, and like I said, the NFC support, and of course that's going to be for those amiibo figures that they have coming out here shortly. New 3DS sounds great. I know this is probably the one thing keeping Nintendo afloat right now. Why you would not want to announce any sort of release date or anything for the US, I have no clue. But they in the article from GameSpot, they said that it will not be out in the US in 2015. So I guess we will have to wait and see if, or before 2015. So it's not coming out in 2014. So I guess we're gonna have to wait till 2015 to actually see if we actually get one of the new 3DSs or not. It actually looks like a pretty sweet 3DS. I have not picked up a 3DS handheld either. I've really been playing the heck out of the Vita lately. I've jumped back into a couple of games on there. I wouldn't mind actually getting a 3DS just to kind of screw around with and play some of the games on there, because I know there's some pretty good games that they release on there. I'd probably prefer the 3DS actually over the Wii U right now. So we'll see on that one. I'm not too sure I actually want to spend any more money with Nintendo right now until they come out with something a little newer. Our last article is going to be one more story from Dice Tower News. One Night Ultimate Werewolf Daybreak. This is another sort of board game, like a party type game. This expansion is going to be coming out. They're starting a Kickstarter campaign on September 29th for this one. I've heard some pretty good things on a couple of different podcasts about this game, and from some of the different websites and shows that I've watched that are board game related. So I'm going to be keeping my eyes on that one and actually see how that one goes. It's a party game where I think there's like 3 to 10 players is required to play, and it's like pretty. I think from what I've read about it, it's like they're supposed to be quick 10-minute games. So that sounds pretty cool. So that's pretty much it for the news this week. We had a quick news week, but we're going to jump into what I'm playing now, or basically what I played for the week. So last week at game night, we played Pathfinder. So I'm going to grab my little Pathfinder Society scenario form here, and we played the Confirmation. There was 4 of us playing this one, so we had a smaller party that went through that went through this, and this is an adventure that's made for newer players, basically that are just getting into Pathfinder Society. This is kind of supposed to be the scenario that introduces you to the Pathfinder Society. It was a cool little scenario. The DM that was the dungeon master for this game was a younger kid. This was, I think, maybe his second time DMing, and he actually did a pretty good job as far as running us through the scenario. Luckily, we did have one veteran Pathfinder guy with us at the table, since not only was the DM his like second time DMing, but me and one of the other guys are a little bit newer to the whole Pathfinder type game, so we're still learning a lot of the games, a lot of the game mechanics and everything, and a lot of the rules. So it was great that we actually had a veteran sitting at the table with us that was quite familiar with the rules, had a lot of different items with him as far as stat sheets and all of the stuff pretty much at his fingertips. So he was very prepared, and it was really nice, and it basically kept the game moving, and we had a good time. So video game wise, I actually had a chance to sit down over the weekend and play PT, which is basically the Silent Hill demo that came out 2 weeks ago, and I had not gotten around to it, but over the weekend I finally did sit down and get around to it. And that if the new Silent Hill is going to be anything similar to what this demo is, it will be a pretty good game, and it's going to scare the shit out of you, basically. There were a couple of times in that game where I was walking down that corridor that you're just like, I just kept looking at my wife like, I had heard that it took place in kind of the same hallway on a couple of podcasts, but the podcast I listened to, whenever they started talking about it, I tried to basically turn on the volume and kind of just jump ahead and get past it. But there were a couple of really good scares where I actually jumped from playing the game. I thought the game was kind of, considering you're in the same corridor for a while, it seemed to be just go on just a little too long. I think they just drew it out a little too long. I really got tired of looking at the corridor after about, I don't know, 20 minutes to a half hour. I mean, even though a lot of the stuff in the hallway was changing each time you were going through it normally, after about a half hour, I was just like, okay, I'm ready. Let me just either end this or, just see something else already. When you get towards the end and a lot of the pictures change and it's kind of starting to really take shape towards the end there. I thought that was kind of interesting, but then when you're kind of just running and for continuously for about 5 minutes, I just thought, like I said, I just thought that was extended a little bit. But if you do have a chance to play PT, definitely check it out. I'm hoping that Silent Hill is going to be more than just a hallway, which I know it will be. But I'm really looking forward to Silent Hill now. I think that should be pretty cool. Pretty cool. I can't remember the last time a game scared the shit out of me this much. Probably since the original. Um, I'm trying to think of what it was. The original Resident Evil with the dogs jumping through the windows probably would be the last time that a game really actually had me coming close to dropping the controller. When the dogs jumped through the window back on the PS1 playing Resident Evil, I think I did drop the controller that first time going through there, because that pretty much does scare everybody. So last Wednesday, for Way Back Wednesday, I jumped into Diablo 2. So I had played Diablo 1. I think on the original PlayStation, I played Diablo 1. I played Diablo 3 on the PC, finished it 3 times, almost 4 times. I've had Diablo 2 since shortly after it came out, and I've started it 5, 6, I don't even know how many times over the years, but I've installed it, played maybe up to like the first dungeon, and then just never really went any further with it. So now that I'm playing it on Way Back Wednesdays, I'm gonna finish it. So every Wednesday, and including tomorrow, I will be playing Diablo 2. We had some people in the chat with us. One guy was really giving me some nice tips and everything since I hadn't played this game in I don't even know how many years. But it was really cool to actually get somewhere and get moving within Diablo 2 and actually feel like I got something accomplished within the game. So now I'm actually looking forward to Wednesday, tomorrow, and then the following week. We're going to see how long this takes us to knock it out. But just like Ultima, we're not gonna stop until we finish it. We are gonna plow through it and knock it out. One of the other things I played over the weekend, downloaded a couple of things for the PS4. I downloaded Pure Pool, and of course, I had been talking about the Walking Dead pinball table for Pinball FX2. The Walking Dead pinball table is definitely tricky. It's definitely not an easy table. The graphics, I think, are great on there. I think a lot of the things that they tie into the actual game, that you're playing, basically that I'm playing on the PS3, is pretty cool, from the first season of the game. I think it's definitely a good table if you're a Pinball FX2 fan. I think it was $2.99. You do not want to pass that one up. Now, Pure Pool, on the other hand, is quite different. The graphics on Pure Pool make you almost feel like you're playing a real game. It is much more difficult than a lot of the other pool games that I've played on like the PS3 and the 360. Normally, when you're going to take a shot, you can actually see the arrow, or maybe like a little kind of like a yellow line is what they give you as to where the ball is going to go. And in Pure Pool, if you're taking a much longer shot than kind of like a normal closer shot, if you're taking a longer shot, you really can't see that yellow line, and it kind of like leaves you kind of almost guessing as to whether you're going to be close to where you want it to go or not, which brings in a whole new added level of difficulty to Pure Pool. I've played it Sunday and a little bit on Monday with my wife. We sat there and we were playing it. We both thought it was really good. The graphics are good. The music's pretty good in the game. The one thing we were kind of disappointed with in the game when we were doing a multiplayer, even though she was logged in under her PlayStation account, it was only picking her up in the game as player 2, and she wasn't getting any XP to basically level up her character, which kind of bummed me out. I was considering that they basically went the extra mile to add in like a player 2 and some multiplayer, so you can do local multiplayer. I was really disappointed that it really didn't hook up into her profile and she can actually save out XP into her own character. I think that's kind of like was one of the more disappointing things, because she was sitting there after a couple of games and she goes, she had beat me once or twice, and she sat there and she goes, how come I'm not leveling up? And she goes, and it seems like you're getting XP even if you lose. I go, I don't know. So we started screwing around and trying to figure out if we can actually get her logged into Pure Pool, even though she was already logged into the PlayStation 4. And it doesn't look like that functionality is added into it. I would ding them a little bit for that, I'd have to say. Considering my wife and I like to sit around and do a lot of co-op playing together, and that's something that just would have been nice if it was there. Like I said, both of us really enjoyed the Walking Dead pinball. We were doing a lot of split screen on that. We were both playing it individually, and I definitely give that one a thumbs up. So one of the other things I played over the weekend was during last week's show. At the end of the show, I actually started opening up my Dice Masters Gravity feed. So that's Marvel Avengers versus X-Men Dice Masters, the dice game, which is basically kind of maybe something along the lines of like Magic the Gathering with dice, I guess you could say. I'm not even too sure how the hell you want to describe it, because the dice, to me, the dice are almost like a Dominion style type of game where you're trying to just kind of grind through your dice, and you're almost doing like a dice builder by bringing in more dice into play. So it's kind of like a dice builder game instead of a deck builder game like those Dominion games are. And it has a whole Magic the Gathering element to it because you're trying to kill your opponent, and your opponent is trying to kill you. I finished opening up the boost, the Gravity feed last week, and with 4 packs to go, I pulled Serena. So that was the Black Widow Serena, which is one of the super rare cards, which I was extremely stoked about because she's one of the more popular ones. The other card I'd kind of like to get that's the super rare is Gabi, which is the Green Goblin one, which in looking on eBay, I'm not really wanting to pay the eBay prices right now because they are just flipping outrageous. A lot of people are trying to do a buy it now for over $50. In an auction, I would maybe pay around 40 or so for it. I don't know if I would go above 40. I did pick up the first 3 months, the 6 cards of the open play that were available for 1, 2, and 3. I picked those up off of eBay today. And I didn't pick up the 4th month because Saturday I actually went and played in my first tournament. So I went down to the game store, which is where I normally pay Pathfinder and all the other board games, and they were doing an open play tournament on Saturday. So for $15, I was able to jump into that, get 12 boosters, and I was able to get some pretty decent rares out of there. Out of a booster, out of a Gravity feed and a half, I think, maybe even a little more, nobody pulled a super rare, unless if they were hiding it and didn't tell anybody. But if you pulled a super rare, you were supposed to put that into the pot, and that was supposed to go to the winner. But supposedly nobody pulled the super rare. Like I said, I was able to get a lot of good rares out of there. The first couple of games I actually played, I actually won, which really surprised me, and a lot of the guys were rather impressed that was my first time playing, and I actually kind of understood the game, and I had told them how many hours of YouTube video I had watched of this game being played because I wanted to just really learn it, and I was really excited for playing it, and I had a really good time playing it. I tried to explain the game and show it to my wife on Monday. We're going to have to sit down and maybe have her watch a few videos because I don't think I'm as good of a teacher as I am as a player. So she was just kind of sitting there a little cross-eyed looking at me like, this isn't making any sense. So I'm gonna sit down and have her watch maybe one of the videos, the intro videos to it, and then maybe sit her down through another one of the beginner games and go through it again. And then I'm sure she will hopefully get into the game because I'm hoping I just don't have to go down to the comic book store to play this one. But that's about it for the What I'm Playing Now section. What I want to play now, one of the stories that I was actually going to talk about in the news section, I figured, what the hell, I'll just throw it in the What I Want to Play Now. I saw that Hot Shots Golf is coming to the PlayStation 4. I have been a huge Hot Shots Golf fan. Crap, I think back to the PlayStation 1 days, my original PlayStation. We used to sit around and play golf pretty much all weekend long. I think we had it on the original PlayStation. I think we had both games. There was a game on the PlayStation 2 as well as I think it was Hot Shots Golf 4 FORE was on the PlayStation 2, and then I think I had it on my PSP as well as on the PS3. I had downloaded it, so I've had most of the Hot Shots Golf games over the years on Sony consoles, and when I saw that this was coming to the PlayStation 4, I was like, sweet. I haven't seen a launch date for it yet. I had found this on a Polygon site they posted the article yesterday, but it's coming to the PlayStation 4, so that's something I'm really looking forward to, and I know that will be something I pick up basically the day it comes out. I will definitely not be passing that one up. Other than that, I think we are pretty much at the end of an episode. I am right on time with my 30-minute time limit that I've been trying to stay with. Very impressive. So where can we be found? Send us some emails. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know if there's anything you want me to talk about. whatimplayingnow@gmail.com is our email address. Follow us on Twitter at whatimplayingnow. Don't forget to drop the G. Our Google Plus page, plus.google.com/plus What I'm Playing Now podcast. Also, we have a Twitch page, twitch.tv/What I'm Playing Now. I will be live tomorrow, probably starting around 8 o'clock or so tomorrow evening for another session of Diablo 2. We will be continuing where we left off last week. I think we'll be going back to the cemetery that I was in. I think I had beat the boss mob that was at that cemetery. I want to hit a couple of the dungeons that were there in the cemetery and see what type of loot those have for me and some goodies I can find down there. Also, don't forget to download the podcast from iTunes and leave us some reviews on iTunes. Give us some ratings. I would really appreciate getting some ratings on iTunes so we can maybe move up on the charts in there. And that's about it. Like I said before, send us some emails at whatimplayingnow@gmail.com and let us know what you're playing now. Have a good week, everybody. We'll be back next week.